fucking look at this. Look at this picture. This is a video that we're going to go through in a second. But just look at this, right? So you have a middle-class white woman who looks exceptionally privileged, relaxing in a bath, reading a book with a glass of wine with male tears written on it, and seashells, and she's having a nice, relaxing time. She's not oppressed, is what we're going to say, right? She's not lacking in any way for anything. She's having a great life. Let's have a listen on her opinion of what the sewage cleaning class of society need to start doing to make her life even better.
Doesn't it seem like some white men are really angry lately?
What, because of the constant attacks on their identity, their very personhood, because of who they are, because of what they were born as? And telling them that regardless of how difficult their lives are, and their lives are difficult, that they're having it easy. When you sit there in a bath and sit there and go, well, I have a vagina. I'm oppressed.
Not all white men.
Fuck off, cucks. No one wants to talk to you. Literally, not one person on earth wants you around. You are the worst people in society. Not only are you going to sit there and use your position of middle-class privilege to shit on working-class white men and claim that you're in exactly the same boat, which you're not, you castrati have absolutely nothing to contribute to the conversation and are literally just the servants of the privileged woman in the bath. So fuck off. You are irrelevant. And listen, anyone watching this, never debate with a beta. Never debate with them. They have nothing to say. They have no arguments, and they're not important in any way, shape, or form. Don't give them the time of day.
I said some.
See? Cucked. Get the fuck out.
According to precarious man theory, when men don't feel masculine, they tend to act out in stereotypical gendered ways, which is why you're getting...
Why shouldn't they? Why the fuck shouldn't they? Why when there is an organised campaign to steal their masculinity, to undermine it, and tell them that they're bad for just being what they are, why shouldn't they be annoyed about this? I mean, do you want to hear about the unbelievable shrieking you get from feminists when you say maybe make me a sandwich? My goodness, you'd think the fucking sky had fallen. But suddenly, oh well, male tears when it's women going, by the way, being masculine's gay.
Pushback from the men in your life for just existing. But it's not you. It's white men. They're a little fragile, right?
That's the boot on the back of the neck, isn't it? Oh, look at you, little fragile. Oh, really? Oh, really? Is it white men demanding safe spaces, is it? Is it white men demanding affirmative action? Is it white men doing all of the things that feminists do? And as soon as you've won, which, let's be honest, you have, as soon as you've won, you've gone, wow, you were really weak. Yeah, I guess so. I guess the weakness was giving in to everything that feminists have asked for. That is a genuine weakness. Men should not have been so fragile. They should have said, no. Now, you are our competition. No fucking mercy. We're coming at you with everything we've got. And you know what? If you can't handle that, if I don't know if there's a gender wage gap or something, that's not our problem. That's your fucking problem.
Now, here's why. See, white men used to be able to raise a family, buy a house, and retire on one salary. Their own.
Okay. So white men used to have to provide for the wife and children. I mean, do you think women were objecting to this? Women en masse just being like, I don't like the fact that I don't have to work and I get to raise my children. I don't like the fact that my husband goes out and does all the work and earns all the money, and I just have to look after the house and raise kids. This sucks. I can't believe I don't have an organisation of angry man-haters to make me go out and do work, the same fucking work as him. I can't believe this. This is just unfair. You know that there were women's movements against feminism, against women getting the vote, against women being forced into the workplace. But they lost because they weren't nagging men enough.
But thanks to growing income inequality, that's something white men can't do anymore. And that's throwing...
Is that income inequality that's causing that, is it? Where's your proof? Where's your evidence? I mean, are you even going to make an argument, or are you just going to assert it as if it's true? I really don't think it's income inequality that's causing this. I think it's probably poverty. I think it may well be competition for jobs that's causing this. What happens when 50% of the population join the workforce? Does it cause competition for jobs? And then what happens when that 50% of the population turn around and say, you know what, right, we need special treatment. We need to have affirmative action. We need special, advancements through these careers. Because frankly, you don't have enough women who have competed their way to the top. Do you think that might have something to do with it? Do you think it might have anything to do with the fact that there is an organised and active campaign against men for the benefit of women, orchestrated by a small percentage of women who actively hate men? I mean, maybe I'm just a bit cynical on this.
Off some really comfy gender norms. You know what else white men can't do anymore? Afford to keep a full-time spouse at home, have job security, depend on federal mortgage programs to help them buy a house, and rely on subsidized, high-quality health care, subsidized retirement programs, and Social Security.
Wow, why have you done this to them? What did they do to you? Apart from provide for you, build a world that you enjoy living in, build the bath you were sat in, build the glass, make the wine, and then completely cucked when you sit there and go, you know what, I'm still not fucking happy. What the fuck did white men ever do to deserve that?
These entitlement programs were part of the privilege of being a white man.
Just the privilege of being a working person, do you mean? A person who earned these things through their career. Nothing to do with being white or male. Carry on.
And it must be enraging to watch them slowly slip away at the hands of growing income inequality.
It's not growing income inequality that's causing this. Income inequality isn't a problem. Poverty is a problem. And it's at the hands of entitled bitches like you who literally think it's funny to hurt people as long as they're white men. Because you can describe all of these as oppressors. You know those garbage collectors, the sewer cleaners, the ones on the front lines fighting to defend your country and keep you safe. Those evil white men who have been oppressing you this whole time. If only you were born in the Arab world, things would be so much better for you. You wouldn't be oppressed at all. Tell you what, you certainly wouldn't be acting out like this, would you? I tell you what, this is genuinely white men's fault.
But you know who else is angry? Women and people who aren't white.
Don't give a fuck. Don't give a fuck. I've completely run out of fucks to give. Do you know who else is unhappy? Privileged middle class women. You fucking suck my balls, love. I literally don't care, given your fucking attitude, if anyone else on earth is unhappy, because you guys are actively coming after me. I don't understand why you think I should give a shit if you're not happy, given how much... I mean, you sat there with a fucking cup with male tears written on it, and you sat there like, yeah, by the way, I'm not very happy. Well, that makes two of us, doesn't it, love? You can go screw yourself. What's that? You got nothing? Don't give a fuck. I'm going to join the MGTOW movement. Why? Because fuck you, that's why.
See, we've been excluded from these programs for longer than we've been included in them. And we're really mad about it too. So I say welcome, white men. You've officially joined the fucked over club.
Oh, and that's what this is fucking all about, isn't it? I mean, I don't agree with any of the conception that you've laid out here. What you've suggested is not an accurate representation of anything. And you fucking know it as well as I do. But it doesn't matter. Let's assume for a moment, for the sake of argument, that this is all true. This is exactly your point, isn't it? It's not about building people up. It's not about improving life for other people. And let's be fair, your life is clearly pretty fucking cushy. But it's not about that. It's about tearing other people down. That's what you want. And that's all you've ever fucking wanted. You entitled, narcissistic... Let's go on.
You can now join the ranks of most of the United States. We get that you're angry, and while it's not our fault, we can totally...
It's absolutely your fault. It is absolutely the fault of privileged white middle-class feminists that these problems are occurring. I mean, literally, who else do you think is to blame? Who else do you think is to blame for the constant attacks on men and masculinity? What do you think it's? Do you think it's Asians? Do you think it's Middle Easterners? They're the most masculine people you'll ever fucking see. They're not attacking masculinity, are they? They're the ones busy enforcing it with their fists, alright? Who the fuck do you think have been attacking men? I mean, who else could it be other than feminists? The movement of man-haters to try and destroy what they classify as male power. Who the fuck else do you think is responsible for this state of affairs? My fucking God. Oh, but you know what the problem is? Capitalism. It's income inequality. I know that you never had income equality because, let's be honest, that's a ridiculous concept that would never exist outside of somewhere like the Soviet Union where it still didn't fucking exist. But you know what we need? Communism. That's what we need. I know because I'm a privileged middle-class white woman who's never fucking lived under these conditions. I've only lived a privileged life under capitalism. Listen to me, though. I know fucking best. Get fucked, bitch.
Empathize with your loss of privileges.
How would you be able to? Men have never had the privileges you've had. Whereas men, women have always been in the workforce, don't you? I mean, obviously you don't think that this is true because you're a fucking loon, but women have always been in the workforce. Women don't have to do, and never have had to do, any of these things. Culturally, maybe there was an incentive to do so, maybe there were pressures to do so, but they never had to do it. And yet men always did. Men... there have been bachelor movements for the last 200 years, and every time they get absolutely crushed by the power structure. There are campaigns against bachelor movements, because if there's one thing that women don't like, it's men not marrying. And my God, you are the fucking perfect example of why men shouldn't marry.
Even though we've never had them.
Shut up.
But don't listen to me, an
I'm not going to.
angry lesbian. Let a white man tell you the exact same thing.
Oh, really? Do you think this horse shit would mean more if it was coming from a white man? Do you? I wasn't interested in the beta cucks that you brought out to reinforce your point earlier. Why would you think another white man saying the same demonstrably untrue things would have an effect on me? It's because you think I am like you. You think I am a bigot in the same way that you are. But I'm not. I actually care about the things that are being said. I don't care about the person saying them. End of story.
Once upon a time, we had 98% of all of the positions of power. And now we only have
Is this guy Middle Eastern? Is that what you mean?
88%. We think
Nonsense. That's not true at all, is it? I mean, I don't know about your country. Maybe in America it is 88%, but in my country it's something like 65%. So out of the bat, you're wrong. Out of the gate, you're wrong.
oh my God, women are taking over.
This is Dr. Michael.
No, it's not women taking over, it's feminists taking over. And the thing is, no one objects to women doing anything. One of our greatest prime ministers was a woman. One of the most legendary prime ministers we've had is a woman. Ironically, one of the weakest prime ministers we have currently is a woman as well. And she sucks. It's almost like there's no point just gendering these things, and we should really go on individuals and their own personal characteristics. Sorry, dude, carry on. Sorry, Mr. White Man, carry on.
Kimmel. He's one of the world's leading experts on men and masculinity.
Oh, is he really?
Once upon a time, the whole world was a locker room. The boardroom of the company was a locker room. The operating theater in the hospital was a locker room. The law firm was a locker room. The military was a locker room.
I don't give a fuck what was a locker room. I give a fuck what was fair. I don't give a shit about your fucking broad and inaccurate stereotypes. I don't care.
The room was a locker room. Everywhere you went, it was all guys. But now, women...
Except for the places where it wasn't all guys. Except for the places... we actually have records that go back over 100 years of entries into universities by women. You know that in 1900, something like 7% of degrees were earned by women. You think, well, that's only 7%. That's true. But how is it that 7% of degrees were earned by women if women were barred from these institutions? The answer is they weren't barred from these institutions. And you know what? I'm completely fine with these things changing. But at this point, we're at something like 55 to 60% female enrollment in universities. And I think just maybe, it's time to start thinking that maybe the pendulum has gone far enough. Unless you actually want it to be women taking over everything, then we don't want it to become 90-something% women in universities and 7% men, do we? 7% beta orbiters who are going to end up being sexual abusers. We want it to be roughly 50-50. If it wasn't that the thing that feminism was going for, I think we've gone too far, and I think by your own arguments, we need to start going back a bit.
And have entered every single one of those arenas. The change in our lives has taken place.
Horseshit. Women are a virtual non-entity when it comes to certain careers, and there doesn't seem to be any way of getting women into these careers. But these careers aren't very prestigious. These careers are very, very low on the social prestige scale, and you don't want to talk about them because of that. But it's okay because they're grubby, they're difficult, they've often got high mortality rates, and it's okay to let men do them because nobody else gives a fuck.
So bewilderingly fast that so many men feel like, what happened? And now you're getting all...
You're just going to say it, are you? I think a lot of men know what's fucking happening. It's this organised attack on men and masculinity, trying to undermine who they are and what they are just because of how they are. It's not their fucking fault how they were born, and you shouldn't be attacking them for that. I would never turn around and sit there and go, you know what, I need to attack femininity. I need to attack women. I need to undermine women and try and actually stop them from being women. That's terrible. It's a fucking awful thing to do to anyone. And yet you are the people who will say, well, we're the compassionate ones. You're not. You're fucking awful. You do come across as psychopathic. You know that men have got shorter life expectancy and are 3/4 of the suicides? Don't give a shit, do you? But I saw a thing the other day. In Ireland, apparently, I can't remember which city in Ireland, the homeless rate was 44% women. And oh my God, something had to be done. Well, who were the other 55%? It doesn't matter. It doesn't. Just shut up. Not important. Because women are the things that are important here. And this kind of... These people who are just... Essentially, it's just massive suck-ups. They drive me nuts. They can get fucked. And the idea that this person thinks is an expert in men and masculinity really amazes me, because I rarely hear anything that is so disconnected from what I feel as a man and like my own masculinity. I've never heard any such tripe.
All the advantages. Women are getting everything. The guys who are the angriest are the ones who said, I made a bargain with this society, and it was the same bargain my father made and my grandfather made. I will be a good man. I will be a good husband. I will be a good father. I will work really hard. I will pay my taxes. And in return for that, I should be able to support a family by myself.
Man, I don't know how old this guy is, but he's really fucking out of touch. Because my parents were remarkably egalitarian. Both of them worked. Me and my sister were always taught, never treated differently by my parents. Very, very, very gender equal when it came to all that. And yet, I still turned out rather masculine, and she turned out rather feminine. It's almost like it's an innate part of being a male or a female, and there may be a biological component to it, but what do I fucking know? But either way, no. I mean, what fucking generation do you think you're talking to? I'm 38, and nothing that he has said there has been reflective of my life experience so far, or any of the people around me that I know. All men and women that I know work. All of them, and they always have. Because frankly, the idea that you can have one income supporting a family of two, regardless of who the income earner is shockingly bourgeois and completely out of touch with most people. But again, it doesn't matter, because, I mean, the idea of working class men, and I could go through, I could just dig up the statistics and show you how working class white men are at the very bottom, well, not the very bottom of society. There's only one group in Britain that's lower than working class men, and the same in America as well. It's actually travelling people, gypsies, who actively reject the society from around them. They actively reject this and cloister themselves away from it, and they're the only people who do worse in society than working class white men. But I guess when you're a privileged group of people who don't have any contact with working class men, you don't know what they do, you don't know the jobs they do, you don't even see them in your society, well, you wouldn't be able to distinguish them from middle class men, would you? I mean, those gay, bearded, hipster cucks are definitely an approximation for the working class man who built your fucking building.
And buy my own house in which to raise my children. And what's happened, of course, economically, is that is very unlikely these days. Because you're angry right now, white men, it doesn't mean that women are going to have some kind of V8 moment where they go, oh my God, you know what, they were right. Let's stop working.
Look at that fucking... Hang on. The irony is they are. They actually are. Every fucking day you see an article on, one of the sort of female sections of the newspapers. Notice there isn't a male section to these newspapers, by the way. But every day you see a fucking article that's like, I'm a woman, I'm successful, and I can't find a man. No, you can't. No, you can't. And that's not men's problem, that's your problem. Again. Because you're competing them. You're out-competing them. And the men are like, okay, well, I'll go for someone who's not out-competing me. And you find yourselves left alone. This is why you have the stereotype of cat ladies for feminists. Not anyone else's problem. No one else gives a shit. And it's not something that people are going to be propagandized into feeling bad about. But trust me, things will swing back when they realise. And the thing is, there are feminists from the 60s and 70s now who say, I regret being a feminist because now I am alone. I am lonely. I have no one to love. I have no children. My life does not feel fulfilling. But again, why should anyone care?
Let's stop working. Let's stop voting. Let's stop driving cars. Let's stop serving on...
Women have been voting for almost as long as men. And the only reason they got these votes is because they simply asked for it. Even though there were women who were opposing women getting the votes. You know, it's not like men had votes for 500 years and then the last century we're like, well, okay, we'll let women have the vote. Men got the vote like something like 10 years before women. It's a really fucking small period of time if you think about it. It's just like, no one is saying that women shouldn't be able to vote or drive. Find me people who are saying that. Go on.
Juries, let's stop having orgasms. It's just not working.
Stop having orgasms. I think that's inevitable. If you think the beta cucks from earlier were giving women orgasms. It's a good thing sex toys exist, I guess.
It's not going to happen. It's a done deal. So we...
No, your straw man isn't going to happen. And no one is trying to roll back the things that you are saying here. But I tell you what will happen. Women will start becoming feminine again and start thinking maybe... and this is the thing. Women want manly men. You know, subconsciously, in a primal way. That's what they tend to be attracted to overall. Hashtag not all. Not all of them. Holy fuck. Some of them aren't at all. But most of them are. Most of them aren't feminist. But again, this is a working class / middle class thing, isn't it? And I think even ultimately, middle class women are attracted to manly men too. Let's not fucking kid ourselves. I guess you're not a killer with the ladies, are you, dude?
And have a choice. We can be dragged kicking and screaming into the future, or we can say, this is a completely different world. What's in it for us?
What's in it?
Well, that's a good question. What's in it for us? It seems like cutting off our balls is in it for us. And the answer is no. We can build our own separate world. We can do things away from you. And when you say, well, we don't like that you're doing things away from you, we can say, that's a shame.
For white men.
What's in it for white men? All of the available evidence suggests that more gender equal our relationships are, the better our health, the better our relationships with our partners, spouses, and...
Well, hang on. Have you considered that women's life expectancy is going down? And it's proportionally. It's going down and it's creeping closer and closer to men's. The more they act like men, the more they get the same effect of living like men. Have you considered that maybe what you're suggesting is dangerous for women? I mean, women's suicide rates are going up to match whatever other gender it is that's committing all the suicides. So have you considered that maybe this is bad for women? Or is this just a selfish white man thing?
And friends, the better our children do in school, the happier...
Oh, fuck off. Our children are fucking failing in school because of, honestly, broken marriages. And because of the fact that nobody gives a shit about white kids. No one cares, especially white boys. In fact, they're being treated, as Christina Hoff Sommers regularly points out, they're being treated like defective girls. And this is causing them to drop out. This is causing them to fail. This is causing them to be literally the bottom of the fucking pile. But, I mean, you know... all of the available evidence, but you mean you haven't provided any, so why the fuck should I, even though I have done in previous videos?
Countries are, the better corporations do. This is a win-win all...
Well, I mean, if corporations are going to be doing better, because if sacrificing the core of my being is going to make corporations do better, then just take it. I mean, I give a fuck.
The way around. We have come to this idea that gender equality is a zero-sum game. And if women win, men...
Well, that's only because of feminists saying we have to have something and men can't have that thing. I mean, I didn't say that. I think that if women are left to their own devices and treated with the same rule set as men, you get a roughly 60-30, 65-35 split in men ratio of male to females in most of the sort of high-earning professions. This is something we see everywhere in corporate CEOs, well, maybe not at the very top, actually, but again, that's hardly representative of men generally. But if you look in parliaments, if you look in managerial roles, even then, many managerial roles tend to be more female dominated these days. But fuck, man, I should stop reinforcing your point, shouldn't I, by saying men are getting absolutely fucked.
Men are going to lose. The reality is When women win, men win as well.
But that's not true, is it? Because it's not women winning. It's when feminists win, men lose. Because feminists winning is at the expense of men. I mean, women were winning under a sort of gender egalitarian liberal system that didn't penalise men or women for their gender. And in fact implemented rules to say you can't do that. And then the feminists came along and said, hey, yeah, but let me tell you about power and privilege. And now, somehow this became a persuasive argument, probably because there were certain women who benefited from it and certain cucked men who couldn't stand up to it. And now we've got men just dropping out. Just men failing in all walks of life. It's demonstrably not better for men. And yet you get people like you who will lie to the public. And this video has 1.5 million views that I'm responding to here. And yet somehow, fucking go away, somehow this is persuasive. I mean, I feel bad for millennial men. I feel bad for the low testosterone cucks who have no choice. They have to go along with this because they've been robbed of the physical ability to actually be men. Honestly, if you're a millennial man, go to the fucking gym. I'm fucking serious. You'll feel better for it.
So that's why white men are so angry.
No, shut up.
Their position in society is changing fast, and they've never had a chance to reevaluate it.
There is no position in society for white men. There's never been a position in society for white men. There has been a position in society for excellence, for merit. I mean, do you understand that, like, no man has ever got a job on the basis that he's a white man. He's had to be good at what he's doing. You understand that, right? I mean, like, there was never a time in the 50s where they were like, well, I've got 3 white men. I guess I'll choose the whitest and malest of them. You fucking idiots. Fucking hell.
It must suck to have your previously very stable identity feel so fragile.
Are you pretending like you give a shit? With your male tears cup? Do you remember having that at the beginning of this video? Because I fucking do. And I'll tell you what, if anyone ever comes to me and says, yeah, but what about femininity? I'm like, fuck femininity, it's not my problem. Why would it be my problem? Why should I consider that to be my problem? Oh, but women are having it taken away from them. I must suck. Oh, it's not very nice, is it? It's a hurtful thing to have that done to you. But the thing is, there isn't an active movement that's trying to take femininity away from women, apart from feminism in some forms. But there's not an organised movement that's attacking women. It's in fact, there's an organised movement for the benefit of women attacking men. And yet you're going to sit here and pretend like you've done nothing, like you've accomplished nothing, like you're having no detrimental effect on men, but you are. And one day people will notice. I'm absolutely certain that a popular idea will spring up and people will start realizing that feminism is victimizing men.
But does this mean we let white male fragility and anger hold us hostage? Nope. It means we...
Hold you fucking hostage? I can't believe that even as the conqueror, you can portray yourself as the victim? Fucking hell.
We continue to challenge men on their behavior.
How about we continue to challenge cunts on their behaviour? Like feminist cunts. And let's be honest, right? If I started a video with me in a bath with a bunch of submissive women and me with a female tears mug, and maybe they would bring me sandwiches on a plate, you'd be like, holy fuck, that guy's a chauvinist. So what do we call you? Oh, that's right, a man-hater. Because let's be honest, you are.
Support masculinity that doesn't benefit from putting others down, and encourage men to support each other. But not before we...
Become women. That's what... You want men to become like women, but men aren't like women. Men are not like women, and they don't want to be like women. Men like to compete with one another, and there is, believe it or not, bonding and brotherhood in competition. It's something that actually brings men together to compete with one another. I know you don't understand that because you're a woman and you've got absolutely no empathy whatsoever, but that is genuinely something that exists. I know it's tough to understand, but I wouldn't pretend to understand the sort of female cooperative, communistic sort of society that you seem to be wanting to build. I'm not going to say I understand that. All I'm going to say is I'm fucking resisting it.
But not before we welcome them to the pissed off party. So
utterly insufferable. I mean, look at the white men in the background here. Holy shit. Not only do they look like they're pedophiles, but they don't look very happy. And I noticed that it's a bunch of women at the front. Weird. Men have been put to the back and women have been brought to the front. That's weird, considering feminism isn't a movement of man-haters and has been attacking men, in your opinion.
So the next time you see an angry white guy, say, "Welcome to the club!"
Fucking hell. You're obviously not angry, you're obviously privileged, and you're obviously fucking insufferable.
You totally understand how hard it is to lose rights and privileges most people never...
You've never lost a right. You have only gained rights and privileges. More and more and more and more each decade, until you've got to the point where you don't even have an argument for any rights that men have that you don't. But I can tell you some rights that fucking women have that men don't. I can tell you some privileges they've got as well, but you don't want to hear it because you think you're oppressed and you think that it's men doing it. But honestly, it's not.
Had. And while you didn't take these things from him, you're totally down for being angry together to make sure everyone benefits this next time around.
Go away. Go the fuck away. Holy shit. I will never cooperate with people like this. I will always oppose them. This was the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. Next time you think about like teenage boys who are thinking about committing suicide because they're being told they're being too boisterous and too much like men, and they don't know what to do, and they finally this line finally goes and offs himself. I mean, imagine him seeing your video. You going, no, you know what, you're a bad... You being a man is a problem. You need to be torn down. By the way, I'm going to talk from my position of privilege as a host on a viral series from my luxury bath. Honestly, it's absolutely disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. The idea of attacking people's gender or identity it's horrific. I can't even imagine what would drive someone to do this. But it's scary that you have had any success whatsoever. And yet it will continue, won't it? It'll continue until people push back.